We're going to call the meeting to order. I am the chairperson of the Committee of Adjustment. My name is Phil Pocock. The order of today's meeting will be under my direction. All items on the agenda must be acknowledged by myself prior to any discussion, presentation, or decision. When I acknowledge you to speak, you can address me as chair. Please be advised that all proceedings and discussions of this Committee of Adjustment are undertaken without bias or conflict of interest. If there's any conflict of interest, members of the committee, including myself, will declare the conflict either at the beginning of the meeting or may declare prior to the application being heard. All members in the audience that wish to speak will be able to do so when acknowledged by myself in accordance with the published agenda. When invited to speak, approach the podium at the back of the room, turn on the microphone by pressing the button, wait a few seconds, the microphone will turn on and turn blue and begin to speak. Please say your name and address for the record. Just makes it easier for the minutes. We ask that all in attendance be respectful and speak to the application at hand only. Any topics or discussions that deviate from the application at hand will not be tolerated. All members of the public that wish to speak will be granted a maximum of 5 minutes. Please also note that this meeting is being live streamed to the town's YouTube page. And I'll introduce the committee. On the far back, there's Ian Rawlings, Junior Planner. And beside him is Rita Jabor, Manager of Planning. Lori Chadwick, Director of Development Services. Beside her is Dan Sauvé, Committee Member. Doreen Lester, Committee Member. Bill Baker, Committee Member. And Marcia Bukta, Secretary. Ian, you want to do the land of acknowledgement?
Sure. We acknowledge that this land. Through you, Chair, we acknowledge that this land is the traditional territory of the Three Fires Confederacy of First Nations, comprised of the Ojibwe, the Ottawa, and the Potawatomi peoples, and of the Huron-Wendat peoples. We value the significant historical and contemporary contributions of local and regional First Nations and all of the original peoples of Turtle Island who have been living and working on the land from time immemorial.
Declaration of conflict of interest. Not seeing any. Okay. Adoption of published agenda. Committee of Adjustments meeting minutes for October 21st. Moved by Bill, second by Doreen. September 16th minutes as well. Doreen. Bill. All right, and we're going to move to the first application, A9-25. Ian?
Through you, Chair. The first application tonight, wait for it to pull up on the screen. Alrighty. The first application tonight is a minor variance application for the lands known as 663 Ambassador Beach Road in the former township of Colchester South, Ward 3. The subject property is designated Lakeshore Residential in the Town of Essex Official Plan and is zoned Residential District 1.1 in the Town of Essex zoning bylaw. The subject property is located in a floodplain development control area and is located within the Essex Region Conservation Authority's within the Essex Region Conservation Authority's limit of regulated area. The property currently contains a one-story single-unit dwelling with a building footprint of 40 square meters and a deck with a building footprint of 20 square meters. The property is subject to a 0.9 meter easement for access and services along the western interior lot line in favor of the parcels to the south of 663 Ambassador Beach Road. Next slide, please. Now, the applicants are proposing to demolish the existing single-unit dwelling and construct a 2-story single-unit dwelling with a building footprint of 73.4 square meters to be located 8.4 meters from the front lot line and 4.2 meters from the rear lot line. The single-unit dwelling will contain a porch with a building footprint of 11.6 square meters that stretches along the western facade of the dwelling to be located 1.3 meters from the western interior lot line. Now, next slide, please. Due to the constraints of the existing lot, the applicant is requesting relief from the following sections of the zoning bylaw. The first is section 9.5I to permit a porch to encroach up to 1.6 meters within a required side yard, whereas the zoning bylaw prescribes a setback equal to that of the dwelling. Therefore, the minimum side yard setback for a porch would technically be 3 meters, as the dwelling does not have an attached or detached accessory structure. The second variance that's required is under section 14.1B7 to permit a rear yard depth minimum of 4.2 meters, whereas the zoning bylaw prescribes a rear yard depth minimum of 7.5 meters. Next slide, please. Here we have an image of the subject property where you can just see the dwelling that's there. And in between that fence and the dwelling, that's the entire front yard. So everything you see before that fence is actually parking for those properties that are further south. So it's a very small lot. Next slide, please. Here we have a couple more images of the property. This is the property in its entirety. It is about 2/3 the size of our standard R1.1 residential lot. Next slide, please. And now for the policies that were considered for the minor variance application, being the 6 tests of a minor variance. Both the County and Town of Essex official plan permits and encourages the construction of single unit dwellings, and no conflict with the official plans are identified, and the intent is maintained. The intent of the zoning bylaw to prescribe a minimum rear yard setback is to ensure that amenity space is still provided and site circulation is maintained and adequate buffering between any land uses is provided. The subject property is deficient in size in comparison with our standard R1.1 lot size requirements. And with these reduced setbacks, they are still able to circulate the site and still provide a little private amenity space as well. The requested encroachment for the porch is based on the required interior side yard setback where no accessory structure or attached garage is provided, which then requires a 3.5 meter setback on one side of the dwelling and 1.2 meters on the other side. This is to ensure there is viable parking space and access along the dwelling into the rear yard when there's no garage attached. One on-site parking space is still provided in the eastern side of the front yard, whereas the variance is requested for the western interior side yard, which is inaccessible for a vehicle regardless. So should the dwelling have an attached garage, their side yard setback would have been 1.2 meters. So now the applicant has consulted with the Essex Region Conservation Authority to identify any minimum floodproofing requirements and any site development requirements, such as the construction of a retaining wall due to the location of the lot within the floodplain development control area. The applicants will be required to maintain their own stormwater runoff, and enough space is available to utilize the rear yard for amenity space, and there are no anticipated impacts at this time. The variance is deemed desirable as it allows the construction of a new single unit dwelling on a pre-existing undersized lot within an R1.1 zoning district. And from there, the surrounding land uses, they consist of low density residential development in the form of single unit dwellings and 3-season cottages, each with amenities to support such as decks, porches, and such. And the proposed dwelling with an attached porch maintains the low density character and provides one on-site parking space as required. And there are no anticipated impacts from traffic or parking at this time. And lastly, due to the restricted lot area, likely any residential development on this lot would require minor variance approval to support its construction. Next slide, please. Excuse me. One moment, sorry. Now, the Essex Region Conservation Authority has provided comments stating that the property owner will be required to obtain approval from the Essex Region Conservation Authority prior to any construction or site alteration or any other activities affected under the Conservation Authorities Act. They note that the proposed development may require an assessment from a qualified coastal engineer to address any structural setbacks on site. And this would be at the time of building permit application when dealing with IRCA any further. Infrastructure Services has stated no objections, and we have also circulated all property owners within 60 meters and received no comments. Okay, next slide, please. Now, the planning department is recommending approval, subject to two conditions. The first being that the applicant obtain any proper approvals from the Essex Region Conservation Authority, and the second being that the applicant obtains a building permit. And please note there is no time restrictions on these conditions as well. Next slide, please. Now, the committee may approve the application with or without the conditions. They can defer the application or they can deny the application. However, if you defer or deny, you must state your reasoning. And as a reminder, administration is recommending approval with the two conditions. Thank you.
Oh, does James, Lisa, or Jennifer wish to add anything to Ian's presentation?
No, not this time. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions from the committee? Anyone? And I'll go ahead there, Bill.
Thank you, through Mr. Chair. No question, just kind of a comment. This is kind of a perfect example of unique improvements to a certain area. I know this area is actually original owners from 1918 are still in this property, as well as the rest of them. So it's a quite tight area, and I hope the neighbors get along quite good, but it's a nice improvement to see. Thank you.
Any questions or comments from the public? Not seeing anything. Doreen, go ahead.
Given that there's no questions or comments from the public, I'd like to make a motion to grant this application with the conditions as recommended by Ian.
Dan, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion passed. If you choose to leave, you're more than welcome to. Ian, we'll move to applications A10-25.
Start. Thank you, through Chair. Just to note that the application says A10-24, but yet we're referring to A10-25. Just a clerical error.
Oh, that must be the public numbers? Yeah, that's the public numbers.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
All right, through you, Chair. The second application tonight is A10-25 for the property 717 Cloverdale Beach Road, former Colchester South, Ward 3. The subject property is designated Lakeshore Residential in the Town of Essex official plan and is zoned Residential District 1.1 and the Town of Essex zoning bylaw. The subject property contains a single unit dwelling and an accessory structure in the front yard. And the subject property does not contain any natural heritage features or items identified under the Ontario Heritage Act. Now, the subject property is located in a floodplain development control area and is located within the Essex Region Conservation Authority's limit of regulated area. Now, one important item to note is that Cloverdale Beach Road is considered a private roadway, which the applicant fronts, and the applicant also abuts Lake Erie to the south. Next slide, please. Now, the applicant is proposing to demolish the existing accessory structure located in the front yard to construct a new two-story accessory structure. And the total building height of the structure will be 7.8 meters or 25.5 feet. And will have a total building footprint of 97.5 square meters, which is 1,049.5 square feet. Now, the structure is proposed to be located 2.7 meters or 9 feet from the front lot line. Next slide. Oh, perfect. So here we have an image of the site plan. I apologize, it might be a little difficult to see from the screens, but on the left-hand side, you can see where they're proposing to put the accessory structure. with relation to the existing dwelling that's further south. And then south of that, of course, would be Lake Erie. The image in the middle is the first floor plan or the main story floor plan for the accessory structure. And then on the right-hand side, you see the second story. All right. Next slide, please. Here we have two elevations provided by the applicant. We have the north elevation and the western elevation. You can see there's two garage door entrances as well as things like patio doors. And then next slide. And then from here, you have the remaining elevations being the east and the southern elevation. So the southern elevation, which faces the dwelling, also has a mini garage door as well. Next slide, please. Thank you. So as I stated, the applicant is proposing to demolish the existing structure, and the new two-story structure actually requires relief from 5 sections of the zoning bylaw. The first is to allow an accessory structure to be located within a required front yard, whereas an accessory structure is not typically permitted in a required front yard. The second is to permit a maximum building height of 7.8 meters, whereas the maximum building height for an accessory structure shall be 4 meters. The third is to permit a setback of 2.7 meters from a privately owned right-of-way, whereas the minimum setback from a privately owned right-of-way is 7.5 meters. The fourth is to permit an accessory structure that is 2 stories in height, whereas the maximum building height for an accessory structure in the R1.1 zoning district is 1 story. And lastly, to permit an accessory structure with a building footprint of 97.5 square meters, whereas the maximum size of an accessory structure is 70 square meters within the R1.1 zoning district. Next slide, please. So here we have images of the property. You can see where they have some parking on the right-hand side. You can see the existing accessory structure on the left-hand side. It's a single unit accessory structure, and you can see their dwelling as well, set back into the property. Next slide, please. Here you have another image. This is taken on the other side of the property in front of the dwelling, looking onto Cloverdale Beach Road. You can see a fence along there, their existing accessory structure and such. Go to the next slide, please. Here you can see the lands to the east. There is a neighbor with an accessory structure as well. It is single story, and there is a couple other accessory structures that are in close proximity as well. Next slide, please. And here we have an image of the western side as well. Alrighty. Now, for consideration for the policies for a minor variance application, now the applicants have provided a planning memo prepared by Pelon Abs Incorporated, dated August 25th, 2025, to address the 4 tests prescribed by the Planning Act and 2 tests prescribed by the Town of Essex official plan. Now, Planning Services is satisfied with the conclusion of the planning memo and supports the recommendation that the application satisfies the 6 tests that were prescribed. And I'm going to go over a few of them briefly. However, the planning memo contains more information and was circulated to the committee as well. Now, both the County of Essex official plan and Town of Essex official plan recognize and permit uses that are accessory to the main use. And the planning memo has provided an appropriate level of comfort, meaning it's described the use of the structure. It's ensured that it's being used as an accessory structure for things such as storage and hobby type purposes. And it provides that level of comfort to ensure that the structure remains supplementary to the main use as intended by the County of Essex official plan and Town of Essex official plan. Now, the intent of the zoning bylaw to prescribe a maximum building height and maximum story for an accessory structure and maximum building footprint for an accessory structure is to ensure that the structure remains supplementary to the main use. Again, like I had said, that planning memo provides that level of comfort that to ensure that the intent is maintained. And also the intent of the zoning bylaw to prescribe a minimum front yard setback is to ensure there is adequate space for parking, maintenance, sight lines, area for landscaping, and buffering between services and a municipal roadway or a privately owned roadway. Now the property maintains its required amount of landscape open space as required in a front yard. The lots along Lake Erie are deeper than typical, so to accommodate things such as a private septic system. And on-site parking is provided within the accessory structure, and sightlines will be maintained as there's enough space between the accessory structure and the private roadway to address any concerns regarding visibility. Now, the intent of the setback from the privately owned roadway is a blanket provision across the entirety of the town of Essex to ensure adequate separation is provided from the road and any services that may exist as private roadways, vary in degree in construction. So the minor variance process allows us to look at it in closer depth. And in this case, the municipal water services are located on the northern side of Cloverdale Beach Road and are not impacted by the proposed severance. Additionally, Cloverdale is a dead end or only has one access and is typically hosts local traffic to support its surrounding residential uses. Therefore, there are no anticipated impacts from a traffic or parking perspective. The variance is deemed desirable for the appropriate use of the land as it remains low density in nature, and the structure is set back in a similar nature to that of the existing accessory structures along Cloverdale as well. And it also reflects those with height, encroachment to the roadway, and its increased building footprint. Now, the surrounding land uses consist of low-density residential dwellings, most of them containing accessory structures in the front yard as well. And this is due to things like they may be legal non-conforming uses. However, they all vary in height and size, with one nearby structure being 2 stories in height as granted by the committee back in 2017. And the applicant is able to provide the 2 on-site parking spaces as required, as I had mentioned. And lastly, the applicant faces some restrictions with this lot, being that it's an irregular lot shaped. It's L-shaped with a bit of a bump out where the accessory structure will be located. And they also have to accommodate things like their own private sanitary sewage. So those are other impacts as well that were taken into consideration. Next slide, please. So per standard, per the Planning Act, the application was circulated to all internal and external agencies and property owners within 60 meters of the property. The Essex Region Conservation Authority has stated no objections and has also stated that the applicants have already received their permits at this time. And the Building Department and Infrastructure Services have detailed no objections at this time. Now, 2 comments were received from the public expressing support for the application. And the applicant has also provided their own PowerPoint presentation as well to follow my presentation. Next slide, please. Now, the Planning Department is recommending approval subject to 2 conditions. They are standard conditions that we've seen before. The first being that the applicant obtain approval from the Essex Region Conservation Authority, and the second being that the applicant obtains a building permit, and there's no prescribed timelines for these conditions as well. All right. Next slide, please. And now just to remind the committee, they can approve the application with or without conditions, defer the application, or deny the application. And again, administration is recommending approval with those 2 conditions. Thank you.
Ms. Gerard, would you like to add anything to Ian's application?
Hi, yes, I would like to present our presentation, if possible, to the committee. Thank you. Good evening, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Sarah Gerard, and I am here on behalf of the Bailey and Fancy family, the owners of 717 Cloverdale Beach Road. We're requesting a minor variance to permit the construction of a 2-story accessory structure with storage on the upper level. Next slide, please. So the site, the property is located on the south side of Cloverdale Beach, with Lake Erie directly to the rear of the farmland and farmland to the front. The lot is irregular in shape, as Ian has stated, due to a previous severance of the neighboring property on the east. The septic system is located between the house and the existing garage, limiting where a new structure can be built. Because of these constraints, the most practical and functional location for the accessory structure is within the front yard, facing the private right-of-way, a layout that is consistent with many other lakefront properties in the area. Next slide, please. So the existing accessory structure was built in the 1970s. It is now smaller, and no longer meets the needs of family storage. The proposed structure will be used to store vehicles, tools, lawn equipment, and personal belongings. There will be no plumbing, no kitchen, and no living space on the second floor, only dry storage. The second story is necessary because the main dwelling has no basements or an attic, and the family has 3 adult children that continue to live at home. This additionally will help the family manage storage effectively without expanding the dwelling footprint. The proposed structure will have a brick-facing asphalt shingle and design complementary to the main dwelling. It will be set back the 2.74 meters or 9 feet from the private roadway and will occupy 21.4% of the lot coverage, leaving over 70% of the front yard landscape. The total height of the peak is 7.7 meters or 25 feet, which remains visually subordinate to the existing house and in keeping with similar structures nearby. Next slide, please. This is just a slide to show you what it will look like with the garages on the main floor, and then again, that second floor being just available for storage purposes. Next slide, please. Again, speaking with constraints, I also like to bring to the attention of the irregular lot. So again, the lot's irregular in shape from a prior severance. The existing septic system lies between the main and the current accessory structure, preventing relocation for further back, and the main dwelling has no basement or internal storage. In addition, the Bailey and Fancy family, again, have 3 growing children. One recently moved home from school in the summer, and the garage is currently being utilized as storage for that child's belongings. Now, they do have another child who is in school and will be returning in June of this year, and they need a location to store that child's belongings as well. So this will help out with that. Next slide, please. This slide, again, just depicts the request of the relief that's required, the proposal, and some information similar to what Ian had stated. So again, we are looking at a lot coverage of only 21%. Our footprint will be 97.55 meters squared, but that again is to ensure that we only have one accessory dwelling or accessory unit on that property. We do not want any other additional accessory structures. 2 stories to accommodate storage, 25 feet because we do need that second story again for storage purposes. The side yard will remain the 4 feet, and again, the parking we are accounting for in the garage. Next slide, please. So again, when we're speaking about the 4 tests in the official plan, the proposal meets the 4 tests of the Planning Act. It is minor in nature, as impacts are non-negotiable negligible, and the structure remains secondary to the dwelling. It is desirable for the appropriate use of the property, providing functional storage while the main space stays open and aesthetic. It maintains the intent of the zoning bylaw, as the building remains clearly accessory without habitation and aligned with other lakefront development patterns. It conforms to the intent of the official plan supporting low-density residential use in neighboring properties. Again, next slide, please, sorry. This is just a snippet of the planning memo. The applicant did seek a planning memo from a registered planner who is in support of this application. So again, just giving a snippet of that, I believe the committee was presented with that planning memo. Next slide, please. So again, this just shows several similar examples along Cloverdale Beach, as well as lakefront properties that are adjacent to Cloverdale. Again, just showing that this is very consistent with these types of properties. There was an application back in 2015 that is on this property that was passed by the committee. If you go to the next slide, we'll be able to see that property right there. So it is only a few doors down from the Bailey and Fancy property right now. So again, that is a second story accessory. Next slide, please. I did provide a couple different variations of variances with the accessory dwelling in the required yard. So if we look at 619 Poplar Bluff back in 2023, reduced the front yard row setback for an accessory building on a lakefront lot where the dwelling faced Lake Erie and the accessory structure faced a private roadway. That was approved by the committee. So again, I just wanted to show that there's been multiple applications with these types of recommendations coming forward that have been approved. Next slide, please. In closing, I would like to say that this application reflects a thoughtful balance between functionality, aesthetics, and the adequate site constraints of the property. It upholds the spirit and the intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw while supporting the continued enjoyment of this family's home. Thank you for your time and consideration, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thanks, Sarah. Nope. I have one for you, Sarah. I know as of now, they're saying that there's no plumbing going into this. Now, what's the size of the septic tank? If they happen to choose to bring in a bathroom as they're constructing, going, you know what, I got 3 kids coming. I might want another bathroom and them out of the house. So I'm just curious to make sure that the septic tank will suffice if they choose to change their plan as the building begins.
Mr. Chair, could I have Mr. Bailey answer that question?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, it was an option at first, and we originally were going to put a bathroom in there, you know, for workshop purposes type thing. I took that out of the plans, but since then, it certainly is an option down the road, but as of right now, no. But we are replacing the septic system as part of these renovations. So our septic system is aging right now, and that will be something that I'll be going to the town for a permit for to upgrade our septic system into a tertiary system.
Any other questions? Can I get a motion? Go ahead there, Bill.
Application
Condition, correct.
with conditions. Thank you.
Seconded by Dan. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passed. All right, we will now move on to B 21-25. Ian?
Through you, Chair. Our first consent application for tonight is for B 2125 for the property known as 26 Sinisac Street East in Harrow, Ward 4. The subject property is located in a primary settlement area, being Harrow, and the subject property is split designated residential and parks and open space at the rear. Under the Town of Essex official plan, and it is zoned entirely Residential District 2.1 in the Town of Essex zoning bylaw. The subject property contains a single unit dwelling and 2 accessory structures in the rear yard. The subject property does not contain any natural heritage features, items identified under the Ontario Heritage Act, and is not located in a floodplain development control area, and it's also not located within the Essex Region Conservation Authority's limit of regulated area. The applicants are proposing to sever a 189.4 square meter parcel from the existing 929.3 square meter residential lot to be added to the adjacent property identified as 0 Sinisac Street East. The retained lot is proposed to have an area of 739.9 square meters, and the applicant is proposing this consent for the purpose of a lot addition to square off the property line boundaries. Next slide, please. Now, here we have the applicant's draft survey. With it, I'm not going to walk through the entire survey, but they're looking to add part 1 on the survey to lot 7 and essentially have 2 squared off properties. Next slide, please. Here we have an image of the subject property to the right, that is 26 Sinisac Street. And then on the left, we have the vacant parcel, which is 0 Sinisac Street, and that's the receiving lands. Next slide. Perfect. So this here is the receiving land, the severed lands. It's the portion of the property that is going to be conveyed to the vacant parcel. Now you will notice there is a hydro pole located on the lands. Now, due to the location of this hydro pole and the overhead lines that attach to it, it is currently providing services to the main dwelling, being 26 Sinisac Street. And we have been in contact with the applicant and ELK as you would not actually be able to acquire a building permit for that vacant property unless those overhead lines and that hydro pole is removed or relocated. So we have included a condition that the hydro pole be relocated or removed accordingly. Next slide, please. Now, for the policies that were considered for the consent application, the PPS and the county official plan does not contain policy direction specific for lot additions within settlement areas. However, it recognizes and defines lot additions for legal or technical reasons, which includes severances for the purposes such as corrections to deeds, minor boundary adjustments, which do not result in the creation of a new lot, which this is seen as. The Town of Essex official plan permits lot adjustments provided that both parcels comply with the provisions of the Town of Essex zoning bylaw and that the consent is granted in accordance with section 50.3 of the Planning Act. Therefore, the applicant will be required to consolidate the severed lot with the abutting lands located at 0 Sinisac Street East. The retained lands and severed lands and receiving lands all comply with the required R2.1 lot width and area regulations, and the main dwelling and accessory structures located on the retained lot comply with the respective side yard setbacks, lot area, parking, and access requirements as well. And as mentioned, lastly, that hydro pole is a condition has been included that it be relocated as a result of this severance. Thank you. Now, the application was circulated to all internal and external agencies per Planning Act regulations. The Essex Region Conservation Authority stated no objections at this time. However, Building Services has confirmed that a permit cannot be issued on the vacant abutting lot due to the location of the existing hydro pole. Now, we've also circulated all properties within 60 meters, and we have received no comments at this time. Next slide, please. From here, our recommendation is to approve the application with your standard conditions for a lot addition, being providing a draft survey to be reviewed and registered, draft deeds with signatures, confirmation of taxes, drain apportionments if needed, confirmation that the properties merge, relocation of the hydro pole, and lastly, the applicants have 2 years to fulfill all conditions. Next slide, please. In here, the committee may approve the application, defer the application, or deny the application. However, if they defer or deny, they must state their reasoning. And lastly, as a reminder, administration is recommending approval. Thank you.
The applicant agent is online. Does he have anything to add to Ian?
Through you, Mr. Chair, no, the planner's done a good job of summarizing our application. Thank you.
Any questions from the committee? No? Not seeing any? Oh, Dan?
Chair, if there is no other further questions, I would move to approve the application with the recommended conditions.
All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And now we'll move to application B 22-25. Ian?
Right. Thank you, Chair. So our next application tonight is for B 22-25, and the applicants are proposing to, this is for the property 0 County Road 50 West, and the applicants are proposing to sever a 1.69 hectare parcel from the existing 6.82 hectare lot to be added to the adjacent property to the west, identified as 0 County Road 50 West. The retained lot is proposed to have an area of 5.14 hectares, And the applicant is proposing this consent for the purpose of a lot addition to support future residential development. Now, the severed lands contains Lake Crest Court and Lake Crest Beach Road in the former township of Colchester South, Ward 3. The subject property is located in a secondary settlement area as identified by the County of Essex official plan. And the subject property is designated Lakeshore Residential in the Town of Essex official plan and is split zone residential district 1.1 and wetland district 1.1 under the Town of Essex zoning bylaw. Now, the property is vacant and subject to a holding provision under section 8.13 of the Town of Essex zoning bylaw. Now, the subject property contains lands identified under the Natural Heritage Overlay, lands identified under the Floodplain Development Control Area, and is subject to the Essex Region Conservation Authority's limit of regulated area. No development proposal is available at this time. In the future, the road will be upgraded to a municipal road at the expense of the developer and conveyed to the town. Currently, the road is privately owned and is not owned and or assumed by the Town of Essex. The receiving lands share the same land use designation under the Town of Essex official plan and zoning districts under the Town of Essex zoning bylaw. The receiving lands are vacant and are also subject to the same holding provision under section 8.13 of the Town of Essex zoning bylaw. Next slide, please. Now, the lands being severed are subject to an easement being Lake Crest Beach Road and Lake Crest Court, identified as parts 2, 3, and 5 on Plan 12R 20377. I have it here on the screen. It is highlighted in yellow. That yellow portion contains Lake Crest Beach Road and Lake Crest Court in its entirety. Next slide, please. Now, it is registered as an easement on the property. However, it is unclear to the town who the benefiting parties are. Therefore, the town is requesting the registration of a new right-of-way, which clearly defines the benefiting party and contains some type of agreement that addresses items such as access and maintenance as a condition of consent. The right-of-way can then be deleted from title if and when a municipal road is ever constructed, since the timing of the development is unknown, and staff recommends that the easement be in perpetuity. Next slide, please. Now, as I had mentioned, the property has a split zoning and contains a number of items such as natural heritage, wetland feature as well. So on the slide that you can see here, on the image on the left-hand side, the yellow portion is where it is designated residential, Lakeshore Residential. The area in the olive green, I'm going to call it, is wetland. The area in the dark green is natural heritage. And then on the image on the right-hand side, you can see where it's yellow, that is where it is zoned residential 1.1. And the area where it is brown is zoned wetland district 1.1. Next slide, please. Here, we just have an image of the property. And here you can see Lake Crest Beach Road as well. This is the entrance from County Road 50. Once you go down this, I'll say next slide. And from here, you also have an image on the right-hand side of Lake Crest Beach Road as well, as you go through that kind of wetland natural heritage features. And then on the left-hand side, you have an image of, it's kind of the triangular portion of the land to be conveyed. And on the left-hand side, you can see some of Lake Crest. And on the right-hand side of that image, you can see the remaining road there, sorry. Next slide, please. Thank you. Now, for the policies that were considered in the consent application, the PPS does not contain policy direction for specific to lot additions within settlement areas. However, as I had stated before, the PPS recognizes and defines lot additions for legal or technical reasons, which includes severances for purposes such as corrections of deeds, minor boundary adjustments, which does not result in the creation of a new lot, such as this application. However, a lot addition for technical reasons is not considered development under the PPS. Now, the County of Essex official plan has delegated consent approval authority to the local tier municipalities, such as us, and requires that we provide our own criteria in keeping with the PPS and County of Essex official plan. Now, the County of Essex official plan does not contain any further policy direction for lot additions within secondary settlement areas. Now, the Town of Essex official plan permits lot adjustments provided that both parcels comply with the provisions of the Town of Essex zoning bylaw. Subject property contains lands identified under the Natural Heritage Overlay and lands identified under the Floodplain Development Control Area. And the lot addition, as I had stated, is not considered development as defined by the PPS, and therefore does not trigger the need to further assess the wetland features and natural heritage on the surrounding lands. Additionally, the lands are subject to a holding provision which prohibits the construction of any structures and introduction of new uses to be which the holding would then be removed following the completion of any further Planning Act approvals in accordance with Section 8.13 of the Town of Essex zoning bylaw. One of those could be something such as the subdivision approval or a future consent application, which would be considered development, which would trigger the need for further review of any of those natural heritage features, the floodplain development area, and so on. Now, we do still have the concerns regarding the easement lands for Lake Crest Court and Lake Crest Beach Road. And now the lot addition does not impact any of the existing potable water supply or sanitary sewage treatment and disposal and stormwater management for the existing lots along Lake Crest Court. Any potable water, sanitary sewage disposal, and stormwater management requirements would be addressed through any future development approvals for the Planning Act. Next slide, please. Now, the application was circulated to all internal and external agencies and property owners within 60 meters of the subject property per the Planning Act. Now, the Essex Region Conservation Authority has provided 2 sets of comments. The latest version has been sent to the Committee of Adjustment, which supersedes their original comments that were attached to the planning report. The updated comments detail that the property owner will be required to obtain an approval from the Essex Region Conservation Authority prior to any construction or site alteration or other activities affected by the Conservation Authorities Act. It is IRCA's opinion that the application is premature at this time, and it is their understanding that the proposed lot addition is intended to consolidate lands for the future development of Lips Beach residential subdivision. We do not yet have any studies to support the feasibility of a subdivision in this area. Now, at this time, planning does not support the conclusion provided by IRCA, as the lot addition is not considered development under the PPS. The roadway will remain as existing, and the lands will be subject to future Planning Act approvals where respective studies will be provided, and further internal, external, and public consultation will be required. The County of Essex has provided engineering-related comments only and expressed no objections at this time, and Infrastructure Services has stated no objections at this time. And lastly, we have received 17 comments from the public. The majority of these comments received were residents along Lake Crest Court who utilize Lake Crest Beach Road and Lake Crest Court as their only access to their properties. The comments received express similar concerns regarding the rights to utilizing the roadway, as well as maintenance for the roadway. All comments received have been sent to the Committee of Adjustment members for further consideration. And it is also important to note that some of the comments received were from residents along Lake Crest Court who fall outside the 60-meter notification range per the Planning Act, yet share an interest in the application at hand due to their use of the roadway. Based on this information, I'm going to move on to the recommendation from staff. Next slide, please. Now, the recommendation from the Planning Department has changed following the completion of the planning report presentation and due to the receipt of public comments. Now, the Planning Department is recommending deferral until such a time that we have an opportunity for all persons who utilize Lake Crest Beach Road and Lake Crest Court for access to their properties. However, this meeting should still be utilized to discuss the application at hand and the conditions proposed by the Planning Department for an application where approval is recommended. The recommended conditions include a draft survey for review and registration, draft transfers with signatures, confirmation of all taxes and errors, drain apportionments, confirmation that the parcels will merge, and undertaking provided by the applicant solicitor detailing that the parcels will merge with evidence to the town that the application is filed, and that the easement language providing an access by way of Lake Crest Beach Road and Lake Crest Court be updated, identifying benefiting parties, and agreements be entered into addressing access and maintenance to be registered on title to the satisfaction of the town. And of course, the applicant would have 2 years to fulfill these conditions. Next slide, please. Now here, this slide actually addresses some of IRCA's previous comments, and it is no longer valid at this time. So we're going to move on from there. Thank you. Now here, the committee may approve the application with or without conditions, defer the application, or deny the application. However, they must state their reasoning if they defer or deny. And again, administration is recommending deferral at this time. Thank you.
The agents like to add or address Ian's presentation? Can you go to the back there? Sorry, thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Yeah, we'd like to clarify this application as mentioned by planning department. It's just lot addition, has nothing to do with any development. It's just for the purpose of consolidation of lands. We'll be respecting all the existing easements on the right of way. I needed further clarification of condition number 4 regarding the drainage.
Maybe slow down when you're talking. Sorry, I'm just walking.
The lot addition of the subject land discussed by planning department to be added to the western property abutting for purpose of consolidation for future development. We understand and we realize that there is an existing use for all the neighbors on the south side of the, like the cottages on the south side of the property. We would like to request the approval of this application with further clarification of conditions number 4 and number 6. Specifically regarding the acknowledgement of all the beneficiary users of that particular right of way. We'll acknowledge that there is an existing easement, and we're not going to change any use of that right of way. It's just change of ownership. I understand there's verbal agreements in the past. All the neighbors been using this road, and we respect that. I know that there is association that was handling all the maintenance and repairs. I would like the situation to continue as is. We would not want to be any part of that existing arrangement. If number 6 condition is adding any additional commitment from us, then I would like that to be clarified before moving forward. And as well, I'd like Ian, can you clarify number 4? What do you mean by drainage reappointment?
Through you, Chair. Condition 4 states the submission of drainage apportionment. So whenever, I would say the best way to put this is most properties in the town of Essex are assessed to a municipal drain. Whenever you take land from one property and add it to another, or you subdivide a property, you now have to reassess how much of the drain you're using, because you pay for a portion of the drain. So if you're taking land from one property, adding it to another property, you have to reassess how much you're paying and how much you're utilizing the drain. So that this allows us to double check and make sure.
And condition number 6. This application was submitted since April, and we've been back and forth with the administration trying to clarify the situation. We were under the impression till yesterday that everything is okay regarding the clarification that we're going to inherit the situation as is. We're not changing any of the existing use or access. Just making sure that condition number 6 does not add any additional commitment from our side to the existing situation. Marianne, you're online.
I am,
All right, Lori, please.
excuse me, I am, sorry. I just lost my voice now that I'm coming on. I just want to speak to condition 6. I'm not really sure what it is that we are.
Excuse me. I don't know who was speaking, but you haven't been acknowledged by myself. So I'm going to let Lori speak. I'm not sure if you're a member of the public. So. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the condition number 6, we discussed at length with our legal counsel, and we are proposing the condition with the support of our legal counsel that an easement, existing or otherwise, providing right-of-way access to the severed lands, identifying the benefiting parties, be registered on title, and showing us that evidence to the satisfaction of the town. The issue that you will likely hear tonight is, who are the benefiting parties? We have not been able to establish who the benefiting parties are. And ironically, when we issued notice under the Planning Act, as per the Planning Act, we were not even able to determine who the benefiting parties are, which is why we're recommending deferral tonight. Is we've ironically come to the conclusion that there are parties here that did not even receive notice that have access to this right-of-way. So we just need clarification. Again, it's either, if it's existing, we want to see that evidence. We need to ensure that the right-of-way, that there's evidence to support who it's tied to, and what are the terms of that right-of-way agreement or easement. And so I will stress that administration as a whole proposes the language of condition 6 is certainly sufficient and should be supported to ensure that the best interests of the community, the existing residents, are at hand and essentially for safe and unencumbered access. I will also pass it to Manager Jabour, Manager of Planning Services, who, as our registered professional planner, has ensured that these conditions do meet and are reasonable, essentially meeting the intent of our policies that bind us.
Chair, just to add on to what Mr. Rawlings and what Ms. Chadwick have already said, we are asking for a deferral first and foremost, because there are property owners along Lakecrest Court that use the road that is in question tonight to be severed that weren't properly notified. And because we're being told that there is something registered on their property granting them access over the road, they are equitable owners and they should have received notice of this application. So that's the first reason why we're recommending deferral, so that the planning department can properly serve notice on those affected property owners. And again, just to add on to what Ms. Chadwick has already said about the easement, so we have come to the conclusion in consultation with our legal department, the town of legal department, that the existing right-of-way is not appropriate and that it doesn't actually identify who the benefiting parties are. It doesn't speak to maintenance issues. And those are some of the concerns that we have heard from members of the public who were circulated on the application. So in terms of determining whether something is a reasonable condition, it has to be tied to the severance. In this case, that road that is subject to the right-of-way, that is the portion of the lands that is in question. So it is reasonable to request this right-of-way. And a reasonable test is also whether it can be completed. Applicants have 2 years to complete conditions under the Planning Act. And those are the 2 tests of reasonability that the committee has to consider when imposing conditions. Other than that, the committee can impose any condition they feel is reasonable.
More to add, or you?
Yeah, I have one more point, and I would like my lawyer to step in as well. I'd just like to assure committee here that our application to add the lot to the next door property does not change any of the existing uses, advantages, or benefits. So basically, we're just changing names. Everything is exactly staying the same. So if there is no existing registered, like we will be willing to work with administration to facilitate all the process with acknowledgement of the existing and all the details of the easements. It's just we don't want to be the part that handles this with all the neighbors. Like even if there is any of the neighbors who are not attending, the right is there. Like we're just changing the ownership of the property. We're not blocking anybody. We have no right to block any individual in the future. Brianna, if you want to add anything, please.
Oh, Marianne. Oh, go. Oh, sorry. Go, Marianne. Thank you.
We can.
Sorry, I was just waiting to be acknowledged. We looked at this issue and we've discussed it over the last couple days, since we realized that it was still out there and needed to be dealt with. I'll mention that on condition 5, we discussed some wording. And if in fact condition 5 is represented in accordance with the emails that we last had, I'm good with that. It had to do with the timing of an application to consolidate. And so if that wording stands, I'm good with that. On condition 6 that deals with the easement, I know the Planning Act allows conditions that are reasonable, having regard to the nature of the severance. In cases where the severance requires the creation of an easement, I believe that that is an entirely reasonable condition. But in this case, we are acquiring the land that is subject to the easement. And so the reasonableness of the request that we amend the easement, I think is unreasonable in the circumstances. It's been in existence for 30, 35 years, and at least. And our title, the title to the severed parcel, is subject to the easement. There's a large cost involved in redoing a new transfer easement that identifies the benefiting parcels. There are 22 pins, as I understand it. You'd have to get copies of all the pins. You'd have to get copies of documents showing the owners and their addresses for service, and then reviewing these documents. And even if our condition was simply to provide evidence that each of these owners had access, it would be a long undertaking. Now, when each of these, if I call them cottages, although I know that they are not necessarily cottages, they're dwellings, but just to differentiate them, the cottage owners, when they purchased their property, would have done so through a lawyer. One of the things that the lawyer has to confirm in order to secure good title is access. So their lawyers were satisfied with the access at the time of their purchase. The purchasers, many of them or most of them, would probably have obtained title insurance. Title insurance is also concerned with access. It's a requirement in order to get title insurance, and therefore title insurance would be there to protect them vis-a-vis their access easement. In this case, the owners, as I understand it, and I'm speaking for the agent here, but I also have confirmed that the owners are in line with these recommendations and these comments that I'm making. The developer would agree to, or the developer being the agent or the owner would agree to undertake to execute a new transfer of easement. they would undertake to execute a new transfer of easement, provided that the owners present us with this transfer easement. In other words, their association, the owners together, would hire a lawyer who would then draft the transfer easement, and the undertaking to actually execute it for registration would be given as a condition to this transfer. I don't think that it's the owners of the cottages that benefit from this easement. And I think this is something that they should bear the cost of between all of them. The other part of this is that there are comments about the easement creating requirements or obligations as to maintenance and repair. Now, again, we're of the opinion that it's the benefiting owners, the people who use the right of way, who should actually be maintaining and repairing it. And, you know, owners come and go, they die, they whatever, but the association and the owners who benefit would remain. And so I think it would be standardly their obligation to repair and maintain the right of way. And I do not think that there's any, I don't think the requirement that such an agreement be made by the applicant seeking a severance is reasonable. And I think there's case law out there to stand behind this, to say that this kind of an agreement isn't a reasonable requirement or obligation for a consent application. The other thing I thought of, and I haven't conveyed this to the town yet, but it could possibly be that the developer or the owner could undertake to execute a transfer of easement in favor of the municipality for the benefit of the owners. Now, identifying the owners, you don't identify the owners in a transfer easement, but you would identify the pieces of land which would benefit. And this can easily be done by looking at a pin map. All 22 pins would appear and we could include all of those in there. But that would be, I think, a way to guarantee or make the owners satisfied with the existence of an easement. Now, all of this is happening because the purchaser of the severed parcel wants to develop the lands and make this a municipal road. And as soon as it becomes a municipal road, it's maintained and everybody has access. So there's no question, there's no issue after that. If this doesn't happen, then nothing will change. If the severance doesn't go through and the transfer, nothing will change. The easement will be as it is, and we would just have to deal with it. As far as the deferral would go, I presume that that's a matter for the town to decide. And if the deferral on the basis of the lack of notice is required, then it's required. So we agree with that. Thank you very much.
I'm gonna go to the public. If, please go to the back and introduce yourself. Line up and we'll go through as possible.
I guess I'm on. Mr. Chairman, my name is John Taylor. I'm the current owner of the property that's being proposed for the severance. And I wanted to speak to two matters. One is the right of way and the other is the maintenance of the road. So the right of way has been in effect by a verbal agreement for 100 years. It was my wife's great-grandfather that sold those properties off, and it's been nothing but a verbal agreement for all that time. Now, if they want it in writing, I'm sure that Mohammed and our lawyer will take care of that. But so the right-of-way agreement has always been there, and it always would have been there. And as far as the maintenance, I have a document here from our files that talks to that issue, the Lake Crest Beach Association. And I'll read the pertinence statement. The purpose of the association is to maintain the roads, ditches, mailbox, entrance sign, and any other problem that would be pertinent to the best interest of all owners. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Questions, or unless the committee has one to ask John right away, or no? Do you, if you'd like to speak, then please go to the back. And which question? Well, you didn't. I did ask you, Bill, and you didn't.
I didn't see. I was
Oh,
writing.
sorry.
I was
Sorry.
writing. So are we going to wait to ask questions of the speakers? Wait till the end, or can we ask them now?
Well, the last
Should
time
we-
I went to, we did this, you wanted to go to the public first.
No, that's fine.
Now,
No,
now we're gonna go.
We're going to wait till
I-
the end. That's
I was
fine.
trying to help you. So it's, yeah, we will ask the questions at the end. Okay. Thank you. So the public.
Okay. My name is Donna Monk, and I'm representing myself and my husband, Kevin Monk. We live at 469 Lake Crest Court. Now, we're all for new growth, more to help the community, but there are a few issues here, and maybe it's we don't have the right facts, because Mr. Taylor here referred to a piece of paper that I've never seen. So I'm going to ask my questions, what I have. Now, all that I think that my husband and I are asking is the clarity of this right-of-way road. I'm a city girl. I don't know much about right-of-way roads, but I mean, we don't own that road, but yet I just found out we're expected to maintain this road. Now, we've owned our house there for 6 years. In the 6 years, we've had 2 tree incidents on this road. The first one was 3 years ago when our carbon monoxide detector went off. We had to call the fire department. Well, they were late in coming because a tree had fallen across the road. Thank goodness there were 3 firemen who were able to lift the tree off of the road so they could get access. Now, just this year, another tree fell on the road. One of the neighbors had just walked by that tree, and she would have been killed. Now, I made a phone call to Ann and John about the trees. I had someone lined up who offered a very minimal amount to trim these trees to make them safer. They chose not to do that. Now, I made the offer, would they be willing to pay? They said no. Now, this is not the road. This is the side of the road. So I said, okay, if you don't want to pay, how about if we pay? Nope, we do not want the trees cut down. That's an example. So whose responsibility is this? Ours or theirs? I mean, are we talking the right of the way road or the sides of the road? I mean, I'm a little confused. So next, the grading of the road.
Not about the app. It is, but it.
Just asking clarification.
Well, we wouldn't have, our committee wouldn't have those.
Well, then who would I call, or who would I?
Just talk to either the association or the owner of the property and who has the access. Those, to me, That's my,
Well, I have talked to them.
well,
So my question then is, the new owners, are we setting up a contract with new owners? The new owners, and we make a deal with them? Or are we, I don't understand. That's my question, and no one can help me with that question.
go ahead there, Lori.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the condition that we're proposing was essentially to clarify those terms and clarify what has allegedly been in existence for some time. So we are looking for evidence as well as a part of this consent to lot addition. That evidence that we've asked about for several months, we are surprised to hear tonight that it exists. We understand, of course, the right of way is there, but the terms of the maintenance and operation, we were unaware of what those terms are. If I may pass the floor to Manager Jabour as well, just to confirm that the maintenance and operation or the terms of that right of way do we have anything on record for that?
Thank you through the chair. As Ms. Chadwick has mentioned, we've been in consultations with the applicant and his solicitor for a few months now, and we have never seen any sort of agreement respecting maintenance. What was presented to you tonight was actually a surprise to us.
Go ahead there, Mohammed.
Yeah, regarding the maintenance commitment, yesterday as well, it's just that there is an existing association that handles all the requirements to maintain this road, and it's led by one of the neighbors or one of the people who live in the neighborhood, and I think it's an internal arrangement among them, and it's been working for so many years. There are a few incidents about trees here and there. I'm assuming it could have been handled through the association. Down the road, we'll be open to look into all these things. We're not there to prevent them of having the liberty of using this road as if it is being there for 80 or 90 years. We're just there to consolidate this road so that in the future it will be part of a municipal road. If this application gets stopped or deferred or canceled, down the road, I think the existing situation is not solving any of these issues. It looks like all these issues are rising now and never been addressed or discussed. We'll be open to be part of any future solution. We just did not want to inherit a commitment that we have to legally reach to each individual of the neighborhood and structure agreements, like we will acknowledge and pass the existing easement to the town to handle this the way they feel appropriate. It's for the neighbors who are concerned about the cost or not aware of the annual commitment of these maintenance fees. We'd like to show them that our goal is to get this municipal road in a year or two at least. If that's the case, then this shortens you one step further for your ongoing cost to be stopped and taken care of by the town. Like, we're not here to make it any difficult. In fact, this is a step for future solution, not just for the residents, also for the town. If this application gets aborted and we lose interest in this, it's just status quo. Nothing is changing in a better way than the way we're approaching. I think the benefit will be universal if this application gets moved forward. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Mike Kelly, Lucas Beach. I just want to follow up on what the previous speaker said, not the gentleman over here. Actually, I'm glad to hear what he's saying, but I can tell you that the maintenance of that road has been stopped several times by the current owners when we were trying to rehabilitate it ourselves. Once this year and once 4 or 5 years ago, they actually stopped the construction. We have a gentleman on our road who actually does a lot of the work to maintain it. Road's in poor shape. I don't know if you've ever been down there, but the road's in poor shape. The base is not good. There's farm fields on both sides. I understand the concerns of the owner. I understand our concerns as well, but it doesn't get maintained at all. We have to maintain it. And when we tried to maintain it this past year, we were stopped by the owner. I'll leave it at that, unless you had a question.
Do we have any questions? Sorry, you want to go and speak? Yeah, you can go up and speak.
My name is Ann Taylor, Mr. Chairman. Our goal in this was never to refuse anyone or make any hindrances not to go or block you from going to your homes. Yes, that's true. My great-grandfather and grandfather and father, it was a verbal agreement with every cottage owner, and it was let be as that. The Beach Association, Lake Crest Beach Association, was formed back in those days when my grandfather was alive. Every year, the members of Lake Crest Beach pay a fee. This year, it's $400 a year. That's to cover the maintenance of the roads, mailboxes, any other problems that pertain to the road itself. Snow removal also. When Rob Demetta moved onto the beach, he has a construction company, and he approached John and said that he would do any maintenance of the road and upkeep, and we agreed to that. The tree situation, we were never informed that the trees fell down. And this is one of the situations too, that no one tells us if there's a tree down, we find out otherwise. No one calls us. And I said, why don't you call us? No one ever calls us about it. So how can we fix the situation? Rob Demetta does do the repairs of the road. The one incident, the one condition with Rob that we made with him is he has to call us and let us know what he intends to do with the road, or when he brings in recycled tar chips to grade the road. And that was the one circumstance where I stopped the trucks because Rob did not tell us that he was going to regrade the complete road. Unfortunately, when I went down there, I called John at work, and John called Rob. And at that time, it was too late to say no because they had already turned up the road for repair. And that's fine. I just said to Rob, you have to tell us what you're going to do first. I know it's part of the road maintenance, but the Beach Association has a meeting every year. They are to tell the new house owners, the details of living down there, i.e., that the road has an access to their houses. The road is privately owned by us. Details like that. I have each year after the Beach Association meeting, which is in July, I've talked to some of the house owners, and I've said to them, are there any problems with the Beach Association? Has anything happened? No, everything's fine. No one tells John and I. So it's miscommunication with the Beach Association and us. The situation with the tree falling, the branch is alive, the tree is alive. We are asked to cut down the trees that go through the swale and onto the other side of the road. There are probably 10 trees that are all overhanging the road. They're live trees. We can't cut them all down. Why? Anyone can have a tree that falls down on their property at any time. I'm sorry that it happened. I'm glad that she was not hurt. But I asked her, why didn't you call us? Oh, no, it's okay. Rob had his equipment down and he fixed it. Well, how do we know to fix things if we aren't told? And Rob gratefully does it, and we appreciate that. I say again, the road maintenance is taken care of by the Beach Association with their dues, yearly dues. The road is in poor condition now. Rob brings in the recycled gravel and tar chips. And you were saying that we stopped him from doing the work. Yes, we did, because he wanted to widen the mouth at County Road 50 in Lake Crest Beach and spread more of it into the property beside us. The bottom line is he has to let us know what he's doing first. The tar chips, the tar screamings go into our fields along the beach road. The road is raised quite high now from several pilings of the tar screamings.
Point of order?
Yeah, I was getting to the.
And
Point of order.
All right.
Can we speak to the issue? I think we've heard this quite a bit. Thank you.
Thanks there, Ann.
Thank you.
That seems to be a thing that you're gonna have to talk to your association with and maybe set the meeting.
yes, that would be fine.
Okay. One more. Is it something to add to the conversation? Go ahead.
Good evening. My name's Catherine Hengel. I live at 487 Lake Crest. Before I start, I would like to ask a question. If you could go to the screen that shows in yellow the land that is being severed, and you make reference to a piece of Lake Crest Court that is being severed. And I would just like some clarification on that. You have referred to the piece from County Road 50 down to the beach, to our road as the Lake Crest Beach Road. So it would be the piece going horizontal, and the piece coming down, I'm assuming, and maybe someone can offer some clarity for me. Everybody on the beach owns the traveled road portion in front of their house. So I'm assuming that yellow piece is the grassed piece beyond the traveled portion that is part and parcel of that triangular piece that is being sold as well. And I would like clarification on that, and that it is not, in fact, the traveled portion of Lake Crest Court. I would like to hear that from. Thank you.
You want to respond to that, or?
Through you, Chair, yes, that is correct. It would be the grass portion there.
Thank you. That's helpful. The next point I want to tell you is that this Lake Crest Beach Association is, I'm going to tell you, it doesn't actually exist as an association. There's no formality to it. It is the owners, the current owners of the beach, the current owners of Lake Crest Court, as they come and go, and they do pay $400 for the maintenance of Lake Crest Court and the snow removal of Lake Crest Court and the beach road, because we need to get out. It's kind of a matter of necessity. So there is no real association in the sense that there is, minute books and a president or anything like that. There's no formal association. It's just the people by name, the neighbors. It's very unstructured, I suppose. And I've certainly never seen any document that indicates that Lake Crest Beach Association pays for the roads, the ditches, the mailbox, and the signs. but, and I don't know if anybody else has on Lake Crest Beach. The only other thing that I'd like to point out is rights of ways, and I don't think this one is adequately described. Otherwise, everybody that has access to the beach road would have received notice. And half of the people on our beach did not receive notice. Typically, rights of ways have a dominant tenement being the benefiting parties, and a servient tenement being the property that is being given as the easement. And from what I have seen on any documents, none of that exists. It just simply says a right of way. It doesn't say for access for people to come and go down to this other parcel of land. It should name the properties. I think somebody has brought that up. It should name all of the properties on Lake Crest Court as being the benefiting parties as opposed to the people by name. One of the other things I want to mention is that should this severance go through, then Mr. and Mrs. Taylor, as the owner of that remaining parcel, are also going to be a benefiting party to that easement, because I'm pretty sure he's still going to use it to access the fields that he farms. And I'm not sure, I guess they own the other part of the road, but any farmer using that is going to also be using the road. So it's not fair to say that everything should fall to us. It hasn't in the past. It has not been clear as to who does what. And you have heard a lot about repairing the road. And I mean, there should be some obligation to keep the access way clear, which would be cutting those trees that overhang. I don't say cutting the trees down, but you should at least clear the branches. We've had times where they're scratching vehicles as you go through there, and it's not very wide to begin with. And in addition, although I'm not sure that this is the place to address this or if it has anything to do with the severance, is when the water comes off the fields and goes on to the right of way and flows on down toward our end of the right of way, it sometimes ends up at our road. It sometimes ends up into that ditch in the tree lines. And that ditch is so overpacked with fallen trees and branches and that kind of thing that it does create a drainage problem for us. That storm event of 2023, everybody west of the access road that is the subject of this meeting tonight, every single house had flooding issues, and some a great deal more than others. But every single house west of that access road, and all the water came from the fields and towards us. It didn't come from the lake. It didn't come from the lake at all. When I walked out of when I looked out my window along the lake, I thought, oh, thank God. I can see the grass, I can see the lake, no problem. I turned the corner, went towards Lake Crest Court, and there were the girls next door kayaking down the road. And all the water came from the fields. So there are issues that need to be addressed. And I just think that this is the time and the place to deal at least with some of them, because we've never had an opportunity before. We've never had captive audience of the owner to be able to deal with it. And I would certainly hope that you would recommend that there be something in there that deals with a little bit more of a definitive nature as to what the right of way is. It was poorly drafted when it was originally drafted many, many years ago, and I think that this is an opportunity to rectify that situation. Thank you.
Any questions from the committee? Dan, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm very familiar with these beach fronts along Lake Erie that have terrible planning. And that this roadway allowance with this severance should also be, in my opinion, determined of that right away, especially if it's going to be future development, which I don't know if you want to put a house in a pond, but that's what we're going to do down there. But I think there should be an established right away property line for that roadway. My question to administration would be, in the past, my understanding there was a application that was denied for a local improvement for that Lake Crest Beach. Would you happen to know that?
Through you, Mr. Chair. We, being the planning department or development services, are unaware of any local improvement applications. We can bring that back certainly to infrastructure services and pose that question. If you may be able to elaborate through you, Mr. Chair, as to the, I guess the information and why it would be relevant to the application, we can certainly provide that and explain what it is you're looking for.
My understanding from one of the owners down there that they did look at this years ago for a local improvement to basically have the town take over the roadway. But I'm not sure in this case that the ownership of the road is split between two fields, and it's trying to be now in this application severed over to the field off to the west side of the right of way. I think there should be in the severance an established right of way on this severance so that the residents know that they have a roadway that is their roadway. And I understand associations, you know, I live over on Colchester Country Club. It's not Lake Erie Country Club where they have their association, and when you buy it, you have all that. And at Colchester Country Club, it was like, hey, everybody, you just put in $50 and we take care of things, but that's neither here nor there. So I think that the severance should look at establishing this roadway as part of the severance agreement.
There, Bill?
Yeah. You know, and as my colleague says, I live on the beach as well, live on a beach road. The 100-year agreement, verbally, can we ask that person here who established that? 100 years ago. My point is this. There are two things. I'm certainly in favor of deferral, so we can certainly get this cleared up. If this severance doesn't pass for whatever reason, you're all in the same condition. Looking at a deferral for proper conditions that speak to these issues is very important in my opinion, because if development should go through, that's good, because this situation will then, there will be, should it go through with proper conditions, improvement to the road should the town take it over. But in the interim of that period of time, there needs to be clarity. The owners of the current property spoke of an association. The residents have spoken of the fact that they don't really believe there's association. There's a loose agreement. We have the same thing on our beach. Like they say, good fences make good neighbors, good paper make good associations. So I think I would be in favor of deferral of this until we can see what these conditions could be improved for this severance. Thank you.
Doreen, do you have anything? Go ahead.
To put a motion to defer forward, please, and specifically to permit the owners that have not been notified and made aware of this application for them to be notified and provide comments and information to the municipality regarding their property and the documentation they have to justify the easement and support it, as well as to allow the parties to come to an amicable decision regarding this property for the future when they come back, so that these conditions can be determined prior to the meeting and a little bit more information available. I think right now it's just a little bit too early for us to be able to make a decision. And again, that is why I'm putting a motion forward to defer. Thank you.
Pearl, as well.
Your second.
Second, and I would like to speak to it.
You'd like to speak to it? Okay.
On the deferral, are we looking at a deferral on two components? One, notification of all the beach owners, and two, for improving conditions on the agreement or the right of way? Is that the two issues of deferral?
I'm not sure the extent in which we can impose legal agreements regarding the deferral. However, the intent is to obtain more information and have the parties, at least make an effort to an amicable decision. I don't believe they've been given that opportunity fully, and so that is my intention.
Pearl. Opposed? Not seeing anything. We're gonna defer this application. So. Two more. Okay. All right. Hold it. Have a break. 5 minutes.
5 minutes?
Meeting back to order, and we're gonna move to B 23-25. Ian?
Through you, Chair. The next consent application tonight is for the lands 145 Nottingham Drive in the former township of Colchester South, Ward 3. The subject property is located within the secondary settlement areas identified by the County of Essex official plan. And the subject property is designated Lakeshore Residential in Town of Essex official plan and Zone Residential District 1.1 in the Essex Town of Essex zoning bylaw. Subject property contains a single unit dwelling and detached accessory structure in the rear yard. And the subject property does not contain any natural heritage features. Items identified under the Ontario Heritage Act, is not located in a floodplain development control area, and is not located within the Essex Region Conservation Authority's limit of regulated area. The applicants are proposing to sever a 171 square meter parcel from the existing 735 square meter residential lot to be added to the adjacent property identified as 149 Nottingham Drive. And the retained residential lot is proposed to have an area of 564 square meters. And the applicant is proposing this consent for the purpose of a lot addition. The parcel located at 149 Nottingham Drive is designated Lakeshore Residential, Zone Residential District 1.1, and contains a single unit dwelling. The landowners of 149 Nottingham Drive currently use the severed lands for gardening and amenity space. Next slide, please. Thank you. Here we have the applicant site plan where they detail the existing dwelling and accessory structure, the land to be conveyed, and the receiving land 149 Nottingham Drive. Next slide, please. Here we have an image of the subject property. To the right-hand side is the severed lands, which if we move to the next slide, we'll see a little more clearly. Right now, it just contains a number of, it does have a few trees in it. It does have some of the things like gardening, I'm not going to say equipment, lands, those kind of things. But there's no structures in it at this time. It is not an access to the property. Next slide, please. Now, for the policies that were considered for the consent application, the Town of Essex official plan permits lot adjustments, provided that both parcels comply with the provisions of the Town of Essex zoning bylaw and that the consent is granted in accordance with the Planning Act. The applicant will be required to consolidate the severed lot with the abutting lands located at 149 Nottingham Drive, and the retained lands and severed lands comply with the required R1.1 lot width and area regulations as prescribed. The main dwelling and accessory structure located on the retained lands abide by the respective side yard setbacks and lot area coverage, those kind of items. Now, orderly development patterns will be maintained as both the severed and retained lots comply with the respective lot regulations prescribed for lots within the R1.1 zoning district. The receiving lands currently use the lands to be conveyed as gardening and amenity space. And as a result of this application, there would be no visible change from the roadway. Lastly, the retained and severed lots will be reflective in lot area and lot width with neighboring properties in the Lakeshore Residential designation. Now, both properties have separate municipal water and sanitary hookups and services. However, Infrastructure Services has advised that the services located for 145 Nottingham Drive, the location should be confirmed to ensure that they are not located within the severed lands. Therefore, we have included this as a condition. Next slide, please. Oh, one more back. Thank you. We've circulated the application to all internal and external agencies and properties within 60 meters. The Essex Region Conservation Authority has expressed no objections. And Infrastructure Services, as I had stated, recommends that the existing services for 145 Nottingham be located and ensure that they're not on the severed lands. And from there, no comments have been received from the public at this time. Next slide, please. So the Planning Department is currently recommending approval subject to standard conditions for an easement application, such as that as the registering a new reference plan, draft deeds, confirmation of taxes, apportionments, and with the added condition that the location of services be confirmed, and if located on the severed lands, be relocated, abandoned, or an easement granted accordingly. Again, the applicants have 2 years to fulfill all conditions. And next slide, please. Then from here, the committee may approve the application with or without conditions, defer the application, or deny the application. However, they must state their reasoning when deferring or denying. Again, we are recommending approval from the planning department with condition. Thank you.
Right. Does the agent or applicant have anything to add to Ian's? Is he online?
Mr. Chair, I'm here to answer any questions if there's anything that the committee has to ask. Otherwise, I think Ian explained it pretty well. They're just using it for gardening now and everything for the last 5 years, and they just want to acquire it.
Any questions from the committee? Any questions from the public? Not seeing any. Dan?
There's no other questions or anything. I'd like to make a motion to approve with the recommendations.
Seconded by Doreen. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. All right, are we going to do all three as one? Okay, so applications B24-25, B25-25, and B26-25. Thanks, Ian.
Sure. The last three consent applications for the nights is B24, 25, and 26-25. They all revolve around the same property, which is why they are contained or together. Now, this is for the property that is currently under the municipal address of 207 Laird Avenue, located on the north side of Laird Avenue, west of Hanlon Street, in Essex Center, Ward 1. The subject property is located in a primary settlement area known as Essex Center, as identified by the County of Essex Official Plan, and is designated residential in the Town of Essex Official Plan and Zone Residential District 1.1 in the Town of Essex zoning bylaw. The subject property contains a single unit dwelling with an accessory structure, and the subject property does not contain any natural heritage features, items identified under the Ontario Heritage Act, is not located in a floodplain development control area, and is not located within the Essex Region Conservation Authority's limit of regulated area. The applicants are proposing to subdivide the property in half, and then they plan to construct a semi-detached dwelling on each lot. So one on the retained lot, one on the severed lot, and then they plan to subdivide those lots down the common dividing wall, totaling 4 lots. So currently, it is 1 lot. Once all severance applications are complete that they are proposing, there would be 4 lots total. Now, a semi-detached dwelling is defined as being a building separated vertically into 2 dwelling units, separated by a common interior wall with a separate entrance at street level. Now, each semi-detached dwelling unit will contain 1 additional dwelling unit for a total of 8 dwellings across the 4 lots. Now, as I stated, these are 3 applications under 3 different application numbers. I'm going to go through each one individually just so we understand why there are 3. So next slide, please. So the first application, which is B24-25, proposes to sever the property in half to facilitate the construction of the semi-detached dwellings. However, it is not tied to the semi-detached dwellings. It is simply severing the lot in half, and the severed lot and the retained lot would have a lot area of 956 square meters. And with this, one condition of this severance that would be unique to B24-25 is that the dwelling and accessory structure be demolished. Next slide, please. Now, the next application, which is B25-25, creates what the applicant has provided on their site plan as Lot A and Lot B. This revolves around 1 semi-detached dwelling, as I had mentioned. Now, both the severed parcel and the retained parcel would have the same lot area, being 478 square meters. And this would require that the applicant constructs the semi-detached dwelling, at least the foundation of it, to grade, subdivides the property down that common interior wall, now creating those 2 conveyable lots. And then they're able to proceed with their building permit and receive things such as separate sanitary and water hookups, separate accesses from the streets, and these lots would be separately conveyable. Each lot would contain 1 semi-detached dwelling unit and 1 additional dwelling unit for a total of 2 dwellings on 1 lot. So again, B2525 is creating 2 lots. The next slide shows the other half of the property, which would be Lot C and Lot D, which would contain, each would contain 1 semi-detached dwelling unit with an additional dwelling unit in it as well. So altogether, on the next slide, you'll see that in total, they are constructing 2 semi-detached dwellings, each having, of course, 2 semi-detached dwelling units with an ADU in each. So in total, there would be 4 dwellings across the entire property. And here we can see the applicant's site plan where they detail the semi-detached dwellings with their associated parking areas. The applicant does provide 2 off-street parking spaces in accordance with the zoning bylaw for each lot. So in this case, there is an attached garage. However, the attached garage does not meet the requirements under the zoning bylaw to be considered as a parking space at this time. Now, on the right-hand side, of course, we also have a rendering provided by the applicant showing that this is a single story, and the actual ADUs will be basement ADU apartments as well. And if you go to the next slide, here we have the floor plans provided by the applicant. On the left-hand side, you can see it's the foundation floor plan. It shows actually the basement ADU for both semi-detached dwelling units. And then on the right-hand side, you have the main floor plan. So it shows that attached garage and it shows the main dwelling as well. And from reviewing the floor plans, you can gather that the ADU is a 2-bedroom unit, whereas the main dwelling is actually a 3-bedroom unit. Next slide, please. And then here we also have elevations of all sides of the semi-detached dwellings as well. And the semi-detached dwellings are proposed to be the same on both lots as well. So this is what they would look like on all sides. Next slide, please. And then here we have an image of the subject property as it is today. Like I had mentioned, there is an existing dwelling and accessory structure on the property. And with when reviewing it alongside other properties, one would say this also is representative of a double lot, or it's twice as large as a standard lot along Laird Avenue as well. Next slide, please. So here we just have a couple more images of the rear of the property. These are longer lots along Laird. They have historically been longer lots, and here you can see there's a significant amount of grassed area, and they have some fencing along each side of the property as well. Not the entire property, but along it does abut 4 different neighbors. Along some of them, there is some privacy fencing. Next slide, please. Now, for the policies that were considered for the consent application, the proposed consent application is consistent with the provincial planning statement, as it promotes a range of housing types, such as freehold semi-detached dwelling units within an area of settlement. And furthermore, this development provides a compact form of housing to target current economic needs, and it's considered an efficient use of vacant land and available infrastructure. The proposed consent application conforms to the policies within the County of Essex official plan, as it supports housing goals and initiatives through providing a mix and range of housing types within Essex Center and increases the available housing supply. The subject property is located in a previously developed residential neighborhood, which primarily consists of single-unit dwellings. And the proposed development incorporates gentle density through its use of semi-detached dwellings and additional dwelling units, which are permitted outright in the zoning bylaw. However, it maintains things and is reflective of their single-story nature and those kind of items as well, and similar setbacks from the roadway. Now, as I mentioned, the subject property is located in a primary settlement area, which supports residential intensification on full municipal servicing. Next slide, please. And so from here, the official plan encourages the construction of a greater variety of housing types, such as semi-detached dwellings, and infilling within previously developed areas, and ensuring that development occurs on full municipal services where capacity and conveyance exists. It also permits semi-detached dwelling units in low and medium density areas, this being considered a low density area as well. Now, capacity is available for municipally provided water, sanitary, and storm services, and the retained and severed lot will require separate hookups for municipal water, and sanitary services, and separate accesses from Laird in accordance with the Development Standards Manual. The proposed lot creation abides by the minimum lot area and lot width requirements for semi-detached dwellings, as detailed within the zoning bylaw. And the development abides by the required minimum front yard, side yard, and rear yard setbacks, maximum height provisions, and required landscape open space provisions, and does not require any variances at this time. One on-site parking space per dwelling unit is required in accordance with the zoning bylaw. The applicant has provided 2 on-site parking spaces for each lot, both of which are located off-street as required, and none of which are provided in the attached garage. Therefore, the proposed development complies with the minimum amount of parking required for a semi-detached dwelling unit that contains 1 additional dwelling unit. Next slide, please. So we have circulated the application to all internal and external agencies per Planning Act regulations and all property owners within 60 meters. The Essex Region Conservation Authority has expressed no objections at this time. Infrastructure Services has stated that new services will be required and driveway permits will also be required. And we have also received 3 comments from the public objecting to the application and expressing concerns regarding neighborhood character and compatibility, traffic and parking concerns, infrastructure and servicing capacity, and impacts to the quality of life within the neighborhood around Laird as well. Next slide, please. Now, the planning department is here we have the recommendations. This recommendation is strictly for B2425. So that was for the creation of a new lot. It's not tied to the severance. Not tied to the semi-detached dwellings. And the planning department is recommending approval subject to standard conditions for the creation of a new lot, which includes 1 unique condition being that the accessory structure and that be demolished. The main dwelling be demolished because they're subdividing the lot, of course. Next slide, please. And now we have the recommendations for B2525 and B2625. They are the same set of recommendations and same conditions. So the planning department is recommending approval with standard conditions for the construction of a semi-detached dwelling. And I'll go over those quickly. It's the submission of a registered reference plan, submission of signed transfers, confirmation that all taxes for the property have been paid, drainage apportionments if needed. We ask that an undertaking be provided by the applicant solicitor detailing that the lots will be registered, that consent application B2425 be finalized, and as seen with other semi-detached dwellings, that a building permit for a footing and foundation wall to finish grade be issued. And then lastly, the applicant has 2 years to fulfill all conditions. Next slide, please. From here, the committee may approve the applications with or without conditions. They can defer the application or deny the application, but must state their reasoning. Again, planning is recommending approval. However, I'd also like to remind the committee that these are 3 separate applications. So 3 separate motions or decisions are required. Thank you.
Barry or Mike, do you have anything to add to Ian's comments? Nope. Okay. Anything from the public? Please go to the back.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Pocock, and committee members. Thank you for allowing us to speak. We are David and Jay Lacerte. Our home is at 212 Center Street, so we abut this property of 207 Laird to the rear. I sent extensive requests to the town to have my comments replied to in writing. I'm not sure if all the members of the committee would have read the notes that I sent. Thank you for doing so. Our property and 216 Center Street, which is our neighbor, has the storm sewer for this area. The infrastructure in this area is extremely old. Our house is about 75 years old. We have a dirt crawl space. We have been there for about 6 years. After purchasing the home, we realized invasiveness of water and the low-lying area and the impact that it has had structurally to our home. and we've spent thousands of dollars to remediate that. To put in proper sanitary drainage and French drains and storm sump pump in order to allow for the water. And an industrial sized barn was permitted to be built at 211 Laird. And I mentioned this structure to let you know that the impact from that has already impacted our backyard for flooding. We often, after a rain, will have ducks swimming around in the yard. I challenge the contention that the infrastructure in this area is adequate to allow for this level of density to be put into our area. Not only will it impact our home financially, not only will it potentially impact the enjoyment of my home, but the plans that were sent to us on the paper that you showed on the previous slide stated at the back that grading would be done by others. It had made no mention of how that grading would impact water runoff. I requested to the town that it be put in writing, a no impact letter to our abutting properties, and that we asking for appropriate privacy measures to be put in place. But the noting of grading done by others does not adequately address our concerns for the structural security of our property. We do feel that this intensification is out of step with the area, and between Hanlon and the Service Drive on both Center Street and Laird, on both sides of the street, does not have anywhere this level of intensification. The only precedent in our area is a semi-detached unit at the corner of Laird and Milne, which are ranch level without the ADUs. We were requesting you to defer this decision and request that the developer decrease the level of intensity that they're going to put in. And as a side note, I would like to say that this area has been a very quiet residential area with large trees. And it's actually a beautiful place to live. My husband and I bought there 6 years ago, hoping and intending for our upcoming retirement to live there long term. The developer has already removed 2 large, healthy trees from that property, and I'm saddened that the town of Essex does not have a mature tree policy. Anyway, I'm requesting you please to defer this motion. Consider our requests for not only privacy, but for an impact study about the water drainage in this specific area and how it will impact the abutting properties. Yes, go ahead.
So I have another concern with like potentially having 8 families move into this unit area. Given the town's current garbage collection plans with up to 4 receptacles per unit, like we have 4 in our house right now. If you're looking at 4 times 8, you're looking at 24 to 32 garbage bins sitting somewhere. I don't see any accommodation for how that's going to be addressed in this plan at all. Like how's that going to be handled? So I just wanted to add that as a concern as well. And that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I will attempt to address the questions that administration in the town of Essex can respond to, and will clarify what is irrelevant to the application or what the applicant may be able to address. So the first question in terms of reduction in density, it's important to note that the land use is permitted. So single detached dwellings, semi-detached dwellings, and additional dwelling units are permitted by right. So that is really, it's not the application before the Committee of Adjustment for decision-making, and to request that the application be deferred to consider reducing density or to say ask the committee to ask the applicant to reduce density is unreasonable because the uses are permitted by right. So that's the first thing. The piece about in the comments wholeheartedly we do support in terms of stormwater. So to talk you through what the process looks like. So if the committee chooses to approve the application for consent, all of the conditions are met. Let's say we find ourselves 6 months from now, and let's say we find ourselves at a position where the applicant is ready to pull building permits. So the building permit process includes review and inspection from various technical experts, both the building department, that is under development services, under my purview, but also under the infrastructure services department. So they would be required to sign off on applications for connections to sanitary, connections to water, and connections to the storm sewer. Following all of the applications, the permits, the inspections, only then, once inspections are passed, only occupancy can be only granted once everything is built according to the application, according to the permits. So it's all tied together. These applications will be required to submit those building permit applications with plans for drainage, catch basins in the rear, and tying into the existing storm sewer in the front. Again, occupancy will not be given until those measures are in place, and grading, which is to be completed by, not by others, but grading is to be completed by the applicants, must also be in place to ensure the grading, essentially the water is flowing to that catch basin. In terms of other privacy measures, we cannot impose conditions to erect a fence. That is up to the property owner. That is a civil matter between the adjoining properties. I will leave that to address that. And then in terms of garbage bins, I would defer that to the applicant. It's a good question. I think curiosity, of course, is before you as residents. You're curious, but is not something, unfortunately, that I can speak to. So we can defer to the applicant through you, Mr. Chair.
I'll have to go back. Is there anyone, just one second, is there anyone else who has something to say? You'd go free. Yeah. Okay.
Andrew Jelinas at 206 Laird. I live across the street from where they're going to be building this. I just have a few questions about new builds being appropriately designed for the neighborhoods. As this is an older neighborhood, houses as old, built as in the 1800s on this street. It's kind of a gross design that doesn't really blend in with the neighborhood already. And seeing already with the tree removal process that my property is being already used and taken up, and my privacy is being given up as part of this process as is. So I'm just curious if there's any consideration in that in the approval for something like this.
Go ahead there, Rita.
Yes, we can speak a little bit about compatibility of use. So this is a residential neighborhood. It's for a residential use, residential purposes. This is where people live. What's being proposed tonight is a dwelling. It's going to be a building where people are going to live. It may not look exactly the same as every other house on the street, but in terms of ensuring compatibility, it's not, in terms of a test, it's not a test of whether it's exactly the same as what's existing in the neighborhood. It's a test of whether this use can coexist with the neighborhood without any adverse impacts. So Mr. Rawlings went through the application with you and showed you some building elevations of the proposed semi. And there was consideration for the height of the buildings in the surrounding area. They aren't 3 stories high, so they have designed this dwelling to be consistent with the building height. They have designed the semi-detached dwelling to be consistent with the setbacks in the area as well. So those are other measures of compatibility too. So again, compatibility is not a matter of replicating exactly the same type of use or building form in a neighborhood. It's ensuring that uses are compatible in terms of what they're proposed for and that they can coexist in harmony without any adverse impacts.
Hopefully that answered your question.
Not quite. There's not too many 8 dwelling homes on the street. We have some of the side-by-sides already on Laird that I think are a good representation of what's appropriately suited towards a community that's already existing there. I just don't understand how this would be, and it's already a smaller street as it is. It's a bit more narrow and crowded as is. Street parking, you get packed. So when you're stuffing 4 or 8 families or whatever in these houses, it takes up quite a lot of parking. I find sometimes that my yard gets used as parking as the street fills up sometimes, and I'm concerned about that also.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have something? No, this lady has.
Hi, Danielle. I live next door to the lot. I definitely agree with what the 2 people ahead of me have said so far about the issues, especially the drainage. We already have a drainage issue, and I don't think that we have the infrastructure to deal with that many more units going in next door, as the area is relatively old, very old. And we don't even have a storm sewer anywhere near our house. It's on the other side of the street. And the fact that the street is already higher than our home, that doesn't benefit us at all. So if the majority of the lot next door is filled with concrete, as there's going to be a basement, and the front yard is going to be also either full of concrete or asphalt, whatever they decide to do for parking, that's going to make a huge impact on our water issue. Which some might say is not their problem, but if they are coming into the neighborhood and building something like this, I think they should be aware of all of the issues that it's going to be causing. And I agree with the parking issue. Even if each unit only has 1 parking spot, that's still 8 cars. And after that, it's going to be overflow onto the street. And are people going to start parking in front of my home and there's nothing I can do about it because it's town property? I don't think that's really fair to the people who are already there. And it's going to cause the street to become busier and busier. And it's going to might be a safety issue for kids. The bus stop is at the corner of Hanlon and Laird. There's lots of cyclists. We have lots of people walking dogs. And it's going to create a lot more traffic, a lot more noise, and a lot more safety issues. I also believe that it won't fit in to our neighborhood, and nobody wants it to look exactly the same as all the houses that are there. Our houses are old. The house that they're taking down was built in 1808. Nobody expects it to look the same. We have different standards now. But we want it to look appropriate. We want it to not look out of place. Like the dwelling units on the corner of Laird and Milne, like they said, they look great. They don't look too much, too fancy, too big. Yes, it's going to be a residential building, but yet the basements can be rented out as apartments, and there's going to be 4 of them. So at what point does it sort of become a rental property? I'm worried about how it'll affect our neighborhood, the busyness, how it'll affect the value of my home. The current house is relatively far away from the lot line, and I know they're going to be building a lot closer to the lot line. With that many units, renters, it does turn people away from purchasing a home next door. So I just want them to consider everything that they're doing that'll affect their neighborhood.
Lori? Oh, Ian, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Through you, Chair. One item I did want to address is the parking for the property. So in accordance with our zoning bylaw, we require for a semi-detached dwelling unit, 1 parking space per unit. And for an additional dwelling unit, we're only allowed to require 1 parking space at this time. And these are on-site parking spaces, so they can't be on the street. The applicants cannot consider the street as their own parking. So in this case, they are providing the necessary amount of parking that we're allowed to request from them at this time. In reviewing the site plan, they do have quite an additional amount of area in their driveway where they could fit additional cars and additional vehicles. And they also do have their attached accessory structure, or their garage, if you will. However, it doesn't count as a parking space under the zoning bylaw. It doesn't conform to the size, but if they have a smaller vehicle, they could also utilize that space as well. In terms of off-street parking, I'm unaware of the provisions in the area for off-street parking, but the applicant is not allowed to, or the tenants or the owners of these properties are not allowed to utilize the off-street parking as their own parking spaces. Those are up to everyone. They're like it was mentioned, that land is owned by the town. It can be used by any individual. Thank you.
Go ahead there, sir.
The opportunity to speak. My name is Mike Bilton. I'm at 202 Center Street. I'm to the east, or to the west, abutting up to the new proposal in the lot. And I'm going to second the comments to my next door neighbors, Jay and Dave, and for everybody else's comments and concerns. My wife and I both agree that every one of these are justified. And although we respect the application and all the boxes are clicked and everything is according to right and by code and all that, Ms. Chadwick, I think you made a comment about, everything will be appropriated by design and inspected and approved before the application process is moved to the next level. My comment or concern to that, with all due respect, is just because it's designed to code doesn't mean it actually works. We have flooding in our backyard, and Jay and Dave next door. It's incredible the amount of rainwater that runs into our backyard, and it comes from this area. I can't stop what's happening. We want things to improve. We want natural progression of our community. But we really want to bring emphasis on the water runoff and the water drainage. If there's one thing that I'm the most concerned about, and I know Jay and Dave are as well, amongst other things, is really about the water runoff. It's atrocious. There's no joke about the ducks swimming in the backyard. We've got a couple of pets, and the water is just incredible. And even to our neighbor to our north at, I think, 200 Center, his backyard, you can't even see the grass, and it's within 15 or 20 feet of the back of his house. So with Trevor and Danielle and everybody, I'm here to speak to the water drainage issue being first and foremost. We really need to have that addressed and make sure that, that it's done, not just to be just done, but to be done right. Thank you.
Oh, you had one last one.
Mr. Chair, David Lassert of 212 Center. Just a clarification, like I was in a previous application, there was a discussion about the owner is required to maintain their own stormwater runoff. So I just wanted to understand a little bit about that in terms of, are there any, like, there's a lot of that 2 basements on 2 duplexes. That's a lot of dirt. And is it going to be maintained, dumped on that property, and the grade's going to be higher than everyone else around? Or is that owner going to be required to remove some of that dirt off of that property so that they're not 3 feet higher than everyone else around them? And then secondly, I was wondering about, does the town have any, like, the percentage of that available land that's being covered by impermeable structure, parking, dwelling? Is there anything in the town that has, like, I'd be curious as to what the percentage is of the land, the property, because compared to what it is now. And is that 'cause like I said, like Mike said, The main concern I have is the water runoff from that property encroaching on everyone else. So that is my second statement.
Chair, I'm going to pull up the numbers as I speak as well. However, a few things to address there. One of your items that you highlighted was the stormwater runoff. With it, it's handled at the building permit phase. From my understanding, the building department has to ensure that the applicant maintains their own stormwater runoff. So you're not allowed to drain onto someone else's property. When that happens, it's I please correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that might be a civil issue when that does happen. I'd also recommend using report a problem for any drainage issues of any kind, even if it's not tied to this application or there's any drainage concerns. I recommend utilizing that as well. Now, you had asked about lot coverage as well, of just what the percentage is that you're allowed to cover for your lot. So for this and going through the applicant's drawings, in this, in total, they are covering about 29% of the lot in structures. However, in the zoning bylaw, we permit them to cover 40% of the lot. So it is a considerably lower amount that they are covering, that they're permitted to cover. And that includes things like those structures, those decks, those kind of items. Thank you.
No. Oh, this gentleman here.
Thanks for allowing all of us folks to speak. My name is Don Batten. I've been living at 216 Center Street for 57 years. Every year there's a flood. So I can appreciate what everybody has said, and I agree 100% with them. You mentioned that they're going to construct these buildings as compatible as possible to the surrounding area. I disagree. Just from the drawings. The structures that are at the corner of Milne and Lane are the ideal type of structure that I would accept. But to pack 8 families into 2 structures, I think it's ridiculous. It's not using, I know there's a big push by the province to build, go as high, jam as many people in, but this is an older community. And the structures there, as everybody said, are fairly old. Older than I am, because as I say, I've been there for 57 years. Nobody has ever come with their bucket to clear out my backyard. So I can appreciate the objection. I would agree to structures similar to those that are on the corner that I just mentioned of Milne and Laird. They're nice, neat. I assume they're single family dwellings. That's about all I got to say. I just don't think the proposed structures are compatible to the area. They're going to create a lot of problems. Thank you.
And did you have one more?
Hi, Danielle again. I just wanted to say that as per a previous comment, I don't actually think that it's unreasonable to ask the applicant to decrease the intensity of what they decide to build in order to help keep the integrity of our existing neighborhood and the infrastructure that exists. because it's not sufficient enough for the single-family dwelling units that are already established, including the drainage and garbage collection. So how will this change if we add 7 new units next door? Especially when the previous tenant barely had 1 garbage bag per week. And now that the collection will be changing to once bi-weekly, that'll obviously make a big difference as well. And no, you can't force them to put up a privacy fence, but what about the raised deck that'll look directly into my backyard? And I'm not sure if that is taken into consideration as well. And I just think that the town should consider their strategic plan when making this decision, specifically their goal to maintain and improve safe and reliable infrastructure. Thanks.
Any more from the public? Any questions from the committee? Go ahead there, Dan.
You, Chair. My question would be to administration with regards to similar to what Kingsville has, you have to have a drainage engineering drawing done also as part of your building permit. Is that something that we look at for this applicant? Because I'm at the point of deferral to make sure that the drainage is properly asserted. And also maybe the applicant can look at the decrease of intensity, because looking at the street of Laird Street, it's only like a 20-foot wide asphalt with grass from the sidewalk to the asphalt. So where's street parking going to be? And you're going to have not just 1 or 2 cars in the driveway if you have that many people pushed and crammed into that house. I like the design. I mean, it's a nice feeling for retirees or a small family, but I think the intensification of having the basement unit as an ADU is too much. But as the public has spoken here, the major concern of flooding should be addressed, and I think that maybe there should be a engineering drainage component to this.
Laura, you want to answer?
Yes, I'd be happy to, on behalf of administration, including the building department. So the chief building official and any building inspectors in my department are the sole authority in asking for grading sheets and lot grading sheets as a part of a building permit application. They would determine, and certainly we will provide all of the comments from tonight as a part of that application. The determination is up to the chief building official. This is not a part of a new plan of subdivision where lot grading sheets are established for an entire subdivision. That's, an automatic, we would require those lot grading sheets, that design. As a part of a building permit application for an infill lot, it is quite complicated in terms of the request for a catch basin, tying into an existing storm sewer and setting the grade. That is all done during building permit timeframe and is all done as a part of the building permit application. It is a requirement to ensure that the water that is on this property is properly managed and maintained. And that will come as a part of the tie-in to the storm sewer. So there's a lot that goes on at the building permit stage. Again, it's an obligation from under the building code and actually under our standards, our development standards manual.
Rita, go ahead.
Address the matter of intensity that member Sauvé brought up. The only way to limit intensity is by not allowing the consent application, because the consent application will create, basically divide the semi-detached dwellings, which then permits the ADUs. On this property, the applicant could build a 3-unit building up to the maximum 40% lot coverage. Okay, so that is the only way to actually control the intensity of this development, is by not permitting the consent. We've given you our recommendations as professional planners and as members of this committee. Under legislation, you are to make a decision that's consistent with the provincial planning statement, that conforms to the county official plan, and that conforms to the town of Essex official plan. We have an obligation to give you a recommendation that conforms and is consistent with those documents. And Essex Center is a primary settlement area. It is where growth and development is to be directed. We've consulted with our infrastructure department. We've reviewed county planning policies, and the application is consistent and conforms with all those things. So we do not recommend that the consent not be approved. We recommend approval, but that is the only mechanism to limit the intensity.
Go ahead, Doreen.
Mr. Chair, I just have a question for Mrs. Jabour, Ms. Jabour, sorry. So if the committee were to turn down this application, what other options does the current owner have? Would that end it? Would it be done at that point?
Through the chair, well, first and foremost, if the committee decides to deny the application, the applicant has the right to appeal this decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal, and they will be using the same test, consistency with the provincial planning statement and conformity with the official plans to make their decision. Should the applicant choose not to appeal the decision of denial to the Ontario Land Tribunal, then they could construct a 3-unit dwelling on this property.
What, Bill? Just 1 second there, Mr. Button.
Through you, point of order, do we have to, are we hearing more from the public before we can speak?
This is the last time, okay?
Don Batten again. I was remiss in one additional thought that I had, and it's dealing with the burden that other folks were. Well, it does because it sheds water off. It's got the same thing. I know,
Okay, well,
but I'm just
I
pointing
understand.
this out.
Understand.
And so far as being compatible, there are other areas in the town of Essex that can be used that would be compatible rather than the established Essex Center.
Okay, thank you. Anything more from the committee? Go ahead there, Bill.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Just some general comments that under the purview of this committee, we're tasked with looking at these consent agendas, and we have to go with the town's official plan, provincial statement, and Essex policies. This, while we don't sometimes agree with the concept, whatever, it is now imposed on us to look at this and make sure it fits. I understand your feelings with regards to this in the neighborhood. The unfortunate thing is, or fortunate, is your neighborhood has extraordinarily large properties. You may see more of this in that area, these type of areas, because it can fit this type of dwelling. And you're right, the province is pushing us to either, look at more density. So we in this committee, in my opinion, and we are not here to speak to the grading, to things like that. That would become up to the building officials when and should this get passed. So our position here is to look at this with it fitting into the provincial and the town of Essex policies and provincial statements. So for that reason, I see no reason to deny it.
Question to, is there any plan for an upgrade to Center Street? Like the entire road rebuild that we know of? Or layered?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Unfortunately, we don't have the answer to that question. If you're referring to a repaving of the road, improvements to storm or infrastructure, I don't know.
Just want to try to give some hope, right, for drainage. Anyways. Is it gonna add to the conversation or are we just regurgitating? Okay.
Not to reiterate, but to add on to the drainage issue is you're talking about streets that are hundreds of years old. None of these properties are properly graded or tend to last since they're so old, right? No matter how you grade this property, with a house that big and the water it's going to displace from the ground alone, it'll flood either Center Street or Laird. Laird already has excessive flooding issues I noticed last year. I'd moved into this town to get away from overdevelopment that was personally happening in my neighborhood. But as a community that's still on a combined sewer storm system with a already not fully functional storm system on Laird, I don't get how this is would be approved before upgrades to the infrastructure to the surrounding area.
Go ahead there, Lori.
Just to clarify, there are no combined sewers in this neighborhood. They're separate sanitary and separate storm. Pardon?
Okay. We've had a good discussion so far. Looking for a motion from the committee. Go ahead there, Bill.
I move approval with conditions for B 2425. That's the first one we have to approve, correct?
Seconded by Doreen. All in favor? All opposed? Motion passed. Looking for a motion for B 2525.
2525 to be approved with conditions as noted by the planning department.
By Bill, in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. One more, 2625. Go ahead there, Bill.
Yeah, sure. I move B 2625 with the conditions recommended by administration.
Seconder, Doreen, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. So, all right, those have been carried. We got, you can go home if you choose. Or stay. We have, just the. Nope. We have two more things to do, so yeah, you're good. Yeah, you're good to go. All right, we're at planning presentation, committee of adjustment, regular meeting, October 21st. Looking for a motion. Doreen, seconded by Dan. All in favor? Passed. Planning report for committee of adjustment, October 21st. Move from Bill, seconded by Doreen. Good. And looking for adjournment, Dan and Doreen. Adjourned. Thank you.